well. But look, maybe the graphic illustration of the economy here is the retail figures, the worst for 50 years, but it's sometimes overlooked. The figures you're talking about there are essentially shops. You're not talking about health, education, service industries and so on. But the Productivity Commission had some interesting things to say on flexibility that I was talking to Scott Morrison about. Let's hear from Bill Shorten on this question of whether they ought to be looking at the wages of those who work in the retail industry.
Let's be clear. Shop assistants get $15 or $16 an hour. The idea that the future of the retail industry depends on cutting their wages back, to me, doesn't fly. The retail industry itself needs to sharpen up its act. It needs to innovate and adapt to consumers' changing needs.
Yep. There's a responsibility on the retailers.
Well, the retailers' defence would be, you know, they pay $15, $16 an hour. In America, retail assistants get paid $7.50 an hour. You know, that is one of the problems that the internet has brought us, the immediacy of overseas pricing and the ability to
That's
compare
right,
it
that's
to
right.
our
And
own.
the service culture there is quite different from it is here. And
well,
so
they've outsourced the minimum wage, for instance, which is rather
precisely.
convenient.
But this is one of the things that the Productivity Commission report did flag. It hasn't made a recommendation specifically on it, but it talks about the idea of incentive payments for, you know, commission payments for sales staff and so forth. These are the sorts of things which the retail sector is going to have to address. You know, the rigidities that exist within that industry at the moment are clearly holding it back, and these are the sort of things that are going to have to be embraced. And the Labor Party, which is, you know, significantly run by the Shop Distributors and Allied Employees Association, as we know, is going to struggle with this.
Well, and $15 or $16 an hour, it's not a lot of room to move there, Brian.
Well, there's not, but the general idea that the problem can be solved, as Bill Shorten implies, by management lifting their game is a little like telling manufacturers of buggies when the cars were coming in, just lift your game and everything will be all right. What this is overlooking is there's massive structural change hitting the retail sector in Australia from two levels. One, it is now much easier to shop on the internet, and secondly, because of the last bout of the global financial crisis, households lifted their savings ratio a lot without, by the way, any tax incentives, and that meant that consumption's gone down, not just or demand has gone down, not just in the big department stores and so forth, but in a whole lot of retail shops. Now, no matter what happens, I find it very hard to see how there won't be major job losses in this sector.
Well, there may be, but let's not get carried away with this idea that the retail sector is under a huge amount of pressure from the changed way people are shopping. I mean, it accounts for 6% of all sales and only 2%...
Is that the online?
Yeah, online, yeah.
That wasn't the main factor. The main factor is the increase in savings that has occurred over the last couple of years.
Sure, but the sector needs to adapt, and it's absolutely laughable that in all these states the shops are closed at times when people want to use them, for example. This is anachronistic.
And on this issue of online and graphic figures, I thought this week was demonstrated that if everything that you buy below $1,000 is GST free, if they were to whack the GST on that, they would make something like $500 million, and it would cost $2 billion to administer
enforce it. Yeah, opening packages, you know, sending.
What do you reckon this is worth?
Yeah.
So that's not going to happen.